Hi everyone, nama saya Ariff and I am one of the performers for Project Suka's live streaming session. A little bit about myself, I am an engineer by trade, but also a poet whenever I feel like it. Poet suka-suka, I write in English and a bit in bahasa Melayu, and saya selalu campur lah, so jadi bahasa rojak. And I've been writing since 2013, and I've been performing as a spoken word poet throughout the KL scene in various open mics, once or twice in JB, I think once also in Ipoh, and once in Singapore. So I mainly write about self-identity, about social issues, social criticism a bit, and because I believe poetry is a form of self-expression, and hopefully you guys enjoy my performance for today. So without further ado, on to my first poem. Aku, Ariff bin Abdul Rahim, terima nikah Ariff bin Abdul Rahim dengan mas kahwin harga diri tunai. Sah. 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 Apa yang susah? Mana yang payah? Siapa yang kisah? Kenapa nak resah? Ini hidup aku. Yang teguh pendirian, yang sedar kemampuan bahawa aku belum mampu untuk menegakkan institusi yang suci. Not in this economy. Not when the tracks left by others were not as exemplary. Hey, benda ni bukan main-main lah. Senang lagi laga ego, tapi kalau dia runtuh, where do you want to go? Before you can love someone else, you need to learn how to love yourself. And that is a lesson I still struggle with. And I'm not the only one. Jadi maafkan kami jika mimpi fana kamu menyimpang dengan realiti nyata aku. Hanya kakiku yang berpijak ini tahu. Bila aku membayangkan patung berpakaian pengantin, aku hanya melihat bahu yang condong, tangan yang lenguh, dan senyuman yang palsu dan rapuh. So that was my first poem. Nama dia Walimatul Urusan Sendiri. Dia interpretasi saya untuk puisi dari T alias Taib yang berjudul Ampang Park. So that was performed as an ensemble back in 2019 during a festival. I like to reinterpret certain poems I've read based on how I feel when I read it. That's basically one of the styles that I do when I write. I give interpretation based on how I feel, how I capture the poem. Bila baca mula-mula, so rasa that is how saya rasa lah bila saya baca poem tu. So on to the next poem. Water, 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 water. I can no longer tell the difference anymore. Which one sounds more natural, which one flows better, which is impeded by conscious restrictions. Because all of them fits. Every single intonation, every linguistic decision, all found a home in my tongue. And my tongue fits between the crevices of conversations. The sound that comes out is the sound of who I am, and it will sound as it should be. But they call me Poyo, Melayu perasan putih, speaking Acah Mat Saleh. Kulit dah macam sungai pencala. Kau nak impress siapa? They accuse me of menjahanamkan bahasa, merosakkan identiti orang kita. Muduk kalut benda. Cuba berpijak di bumi yang nyata. This is how the Marhain berkata-kata. The working class generation, a product of assimilation, pencampuran budaya, dah jadi lumrah pendirian kita. Being multilingual is our second nature. Kau marah aku bila aku rojakkan bahasa. Macam aku ni pengkhianat bangsa. What? Let me persemburkan away your expectations. My diction is never up to your dictation. Jati diri aku bukan sekadar slogan kementerian. And I am more than how I speak. Because language is a matter of saying what matters. How you say them doesn't really matter. So when they told me to speak my mother tongue, I tell them No, I asked them. Mak aku tak pernah bunyi macam kau. See, my mother's tongue is kindness with a tint of voodoo. A strong, unapologetic presence not many people understand, and that's okay. Sebab aku adalah aku. Buat aku untuk aku. So don't worry. Aku kenal akar umbi, from the eastern breeze to the southern seas. I know where I came from. I know where I currently am. And dare I say, I know where I want to be. But how about you? Budi bahasa budaya kita. Kau bila nak jaga budi, nak jaga bahasa? Kau bila pula nak jaga budaya? So that was my second poem. It's called Water. So when I write, I like to write mostly about identity, because for me, poetry is self-expression. The easiest and also the hardest thing to write about is about yourself. And I know it's a bit cliche. People would say it's a bit narcissistic to write about yourself. But hey, if you don't write about yourself, who else? And I think poetry is a great channel to explore more about yourself, your conflicts, your character. So put it on a page. Let others judge you if they want. And that's how I do. So next, I'll be performing a poem. It's related to human rights. I wrote it as a prompt during there was a campaign earlier this year, and it resonates very very heavily to me. And that one is called Listen Lisan, and it goes like this. My vocal cords can sing the songs of revolution, the requiem of tyranny, and sweet lullabies of hopes and dreams, while my ears can decipher the tales of valor, the stories of salvation, and most importantly, the discrepancies of your deception. And I hear you. Muffled shuffles but heavy steps, your tailored truth rings a bit off pitch, and the muzzles in your hands could not soften the screech of your intentions. You seek to control me. You take me for a puppet of your design, a ventriloquist act, miming the hollow scripts of your making, and that struck a chord in me. An F major to you for the audacity to assume my generation has a volume control you can put on mute. Now, why would you want to do that? Why would you want to control me? Why would you want to silence me? Sebab dalam sunyi, macam-macam boleh jadi. Dalam sunyi, musuh mula berani. Dalam sunyi, lembu pun boleh sembunyi. Tak payah dongak jauh, lama nak mencari. Tong-tong yang ada dah mula berisi. Pandang depan, jaga intonasi. Ini semua kata-kata balaci, pengangkat dogma pertuhankan duniami. Kalau kau bersuara, aku pun nak bersuara. Jangan nak sama yang bersuara dengan yang berpuaka. Yang satu mengangkat, satu lagi menyekat, jerat, sakat membingitkan situasi, membisukan hati suaraku. Jangan ditepis, biar I liur merenjis di muka si fasis, si dayus, si fasik yang rakus. Takkan sunyinya hening pagi selagi sang penindas belum pergi. The chains you bring when you find us will never really come to bind us. Those chains have chimed the stories of ancestors, the hymns of their survivals rings raw and clear. Auto-tune did not dare to come near, and we don't dance to the tunes of your rhythm. We will set our own. An oddly timed signature, call it progressive, and with each beat we'll build bridges and mend rifts, and sing choruses of bitter truth and promise realities, a song for generations to come. Sebuah hikayat buat si waris amanah yang dihunus setajam keris. Tidak akan hilangnya laungan lisan walaupun dalam badan sudah pun bernisan. Dunia ini bukan milik kita, tetapi milik semua. Syurga bukan untuk dimonopoli kerana masih cukup untuk dikongsi, dan perjuangan ini kian lama akan berhenti hanya bila sangkakala mula berbunyi. That's my third poem called Listen, Listen. And the message in that is freedom of speech. Art and poetry and music and whatever form of art is self expression, not just for yourself, but for other people, for the society. Because throughout history, art has always been used during revolution, during big changes, because art is a reflection. So, before I go to the next poem, thank you, Project Suka, for hosting this live streaming session. Thank you for having me, and hopefully we can have this again. So, my final poem for the session is a poem that I strongly believe in. It's one of my favorite poems to perform, and it speaks of the injustice that has happened in our society. So, hopefully you like it. And the poem is called Real Boys, and it goes like this. Growing up as the eldest boy, there are things you need to employ, an unwritten tradition sung like gospel, all in the name of being a real boy. This societal heirloom passed down from generations X and Y comes in 5-1. Real boys don't cry. They scream away their problems, put a mask over your conscience, don't let them see a single tear or they'll tear you apart too. Real boys must be physical, strong, and tough. The alpha amongst the omega. If they don't see it, show them. An unsolicited depiction for your testosterone validation. 3. Real boys don't do what girls do. We're not meant to be in the kitchen. Boys are meant to understand toolboxes, not thread with threads, or you'll be seen as a threat. I still can't tell the difference between burgundy and maroon, but I've seen those who do maroon to a corner. I guess they should have been holding a spanner. 4. Real boys must speak loudly and boldly, their voice echoing the force of 1,000 conviction, drawing distinction with sonic friction. Our own voice is an entitlement we have grown fond of. 5. Boys can get away with anything. Our body is our own excuse, never chained down to anyone's judgment. Boys will always be boys, they say. But repercussion is a noun only taught to our sisters. These are the 5 pillars our society has grown accustomed to. But what happens when you choose to refuse? What happens when you're different? Was Zulfarhan not a boy because he forgot number 4? Was Naveen a victim because people say he's not number 3? We often wonder what makes a victim a target. We forget to question the ones who drew the bullseye. Did they think number 2 was the truest of them all? Did number 5 make them feel invincible and tall? So excuse me when I refuse to partake in this circle jerk of hashtag toxic masculinity, of hashtag masculinity so fragile, hashtag not all men, but hashtag enough men, because 5, real boys can get away with anything, but real men takes responsibility. Boys won't always be boys. 4. Real boys speaks loud and bold, but an empty can rattles the most. Even a silent crack can bring down a building. 3. Real boys don't do what girls do, but your mother won't always be there to pamper you. You say boys were meant to fix stuff, so fix your bent priorities straight, not the erection of your goddamn ego, too. Real boys must be physical, strong, and tough. But was it strength that carries your punches as you iron down their lifeline flat? I can only see that as an act of weakness. And now, their bodies are just battered shells, with cracks no prayers can ever piece together. The dead are the ones who can finally understand peace. The burden now lies with the living. 1. Real boys don't cry. Now, only their mothers do.